Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and today we are going to fly the Fenix A319 from Salt Lake City up to Jackson Hole. We are going to use this flight to put the new VRAS to the test in the Fenix Airbuses, and we are also going to do some hot and high operations up at Jackson Hole. Now, if you're saying, but it's -2 degrees outside, how can you speak of hot and high operations over here? I'll get to that once we're actually en route. So let's go into our lovely Airbus, and we are going to start setting this one up for this quick 30-minute commuter flight over here. So we are going to take a seat on the captain's seat today, and then we can start with our safety inspection, making sure the aircraft is safe for powering it up, which it actually is. So battery is coming on, the external power is coming on, and then we can give it a couple moments to start powering up. While that's in progress, let's already head over into the electronic flight bag, where we're going to import our SimBrief flight plan, scheduled off block in 14 minutes, and we should be very much able to do that. So, to have a look into our flight plan, we are currently looking at Salt Lake City, good weather in clear skies, conditions 6 degrees, and over at Jackson Hole -2 with again clear skies. Now, in terms of our alternates, Salt Lake is actually our primary alternate, so as you can see the forecast is good as well, so we don't need any extra fuel over here. Last but not least, let's go ahead and have a quick look into our significant weather charts to check for anything en route, but as you can see there is nothing on it at all. Okay, great. So, looking into our flight plan and into the amount of fuel we are supposed to take, we've got 9,740 for our takeoff plus 330 for our taxi. So, if we round that up and make it 10,500 pounds, then we are more than good to go. Remember, guys, we are flying for a US carrier today, so the weights are all going to be in pounds unless I say anything different. So 10,500 coming into here, 119 guests on board, and with that we can go ahead, apply and load, and we will be using GSX for our loading today. Wonderful. So with that good stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and prepare the electronic flight bag. Over here, 34 left is the planned runway according to SimBrief. Let's go ahead and have a quick look onto the airport charts. We're parking down here, as you can see, so 34 right is probably the better runway for us to take. So let's go for 34 right here in the absence of any ATC that would force us onto anything else. We'll synchronize the preliminary weights and the weather, and we don't have any intersection data here, so let's go with it like that. Alright, so it gives us a config 1+F takeoff 60 degrees flex, the speeds are looking good. I'd call that more than good to go. Alright. So, that much about our EFB setup. Then let's go over our flight deck real quick over here. Number one, we are gonna turn on the IR assistance. They will need a little alignment time. Lights. Oh boy, is that really what Delta uses as boarding music? My condolences to everyone flying there. Okay, so, lights are set as needed, and then we can go ahead, go down into the MCDU. AOC menu, flight init, and request the latest flight data. Well, and with that, we are pretty much done with our initial flight preparation here. One last thing, let's do the APU fire test. And I am going to fire up the APU so that we can get some air conditioning going, as it is rather cold outside, and we don't want our guests to be blocking the aisle when getting their jackets out a couple moments after we turn the aircon on, right? Okay, so then let's go ahead and do our flight deck setup here. Should be a real quick one. Alright, battery test. And I should probably not have done that during the APU startup. At least we know they are charging. But yeah, that gave us an APU auto shutdown. But we know why, so let's turn it off. And then we'll just do that again in a few moments, and the APU will probably start normally. Alright, APU back on, and APU start. This time it should work without any issues. But yeah, these are the kind of things that I do really like to see on aircraft. if you act up, like I just did by running the battery test while the APU startup was in progress, then the aircraft is going to respond accordingly and might give you an APU auto shutdown. So, you know, that's the small little things that I do really like about those study level aircrafts, like the Fenix definitely is. Alright, the altimeter is 3014. So how can we get that value for the standby, which is only metric? Well, we're gonna dial it in over here. 3014, switch to hectopascals, 1021. And here we go. The only thing when you do that, you gotta be a little bit careful. When you do your switching from inches to hectopascals on the primary altimeter, then it might change the inch value, because basically 0.03 inches equals 1 hectopascal, but, and that's a rather large but over here, I'm not talking about the leading flight attendant, by the way, every hectopascal only corresponds to 1 inch value. So for example, if you had 3015, you switch that to hectopascals, and then back to inches, it might have switched over to 3014. So that's a little bit of a problem there in the Airbus. But that is actually a feature, not a bug. Okay, so oxygen quantity 1800 is looking good, hydraulics are looking good, engine oil quantities are looking good. And then we can move further down. Weather radar is checked already. Our transponder can go to squawk 2000 above and system number 1. And that's it, okay. Well, with that, let's get into our FMS setup, A319-100, and look at that, it's the last day of the IRAC today, so tomorrow is going to be IRAC day. So gonna keep that in mind, that we do our updates tomorrow. Okay, Delta 2269 is going to be a flight number, cost NX 30, cruising in 31,000. And then, onto the flight plan. So, we just said we are going to depart off runway 34 right today, via the RUC 3 departure, towards Holter. Insert that, and for arrival we're going to go into runway 01 via the ANAF X-ray approach. Right, we don't need any star for that. We do need a transition though, so for the approach, ANAF X-ray 01 starting over here at Homva. If we can take that? No, we can't? Okay.
Once again, welcome aboard Delta's flight. Please place all of
Do
your
we have
bags in
Jogox
the
up there?
seat in front of you. Unless we complete
No,
the
well in that case let's just do this and see where it takes us.
We're in the cabin at this time to assist you.
Alright, goes right to Homba.
Exit row, do not
In that
wish to
case,
sit or
Jackson
perform
goes out,
Please let us know.
discontinuity goes out.
We'd be happy to have you read
That one up here is supposed to be there since we have radar vectors. Here we go. Alright then, so for our engine out, we proceed on the track 344. So KSLC 34 right slash 344 slash 25. Quick check that we can actually do that, since there are a couple of mountains in the area, which I don't necessarily want to fly into. So let's see, RUC 3 departure, runway track is clear, perfect. Yeah, then we'll do just that. Alright, and insert, perfect. Pick up a holding over there on 344. Right hand turns, looking good, and if we need to do an immediate return, we will do so. Towards SLC. Salt Lake City, and since the winds are calm, we are going to come back on 16 left. Then we don't need to fly all the way around with the mountains in the area and stuff like that. Okay. So that's definitely the easy version of doing these things. So KSLC 34 right. And the 344 down here, and then PVD 01 is going to be a holding fix. Alright, let's see if we can save the pilot route in the meantime. No, not really. This is still bugged. Alright, then we continue with the performance initialization, and I am going to take those numbers directly off the load sheet. Yeah, let's take the latest one, edition number 2, 117.4. And the zero fuel weight CG 29.1. Right, block fuel 10.5. And let's see, APU is available already. In that case, let's put the APU bleed on. Okay, so interesting down here. Alternate fuel minus 1.6. Interesting. Haven't seen it do that yet. But okay, let's not worry about it. Let's check the flight plan and override the values anyway. So, contingency 0.5, alternate 3.7, final 2.1. So 0.5, 3.7, 2.1. That's probably better. And the taxi fuel 0.4. Alright, leaves us with 41 minutes extra. That's good. That's pretty good. Alright, well, let's see if that remains after we do the wind data request. Then we can start typing in our performance. So, flaps 1, 60 degrees. And let's see, 139, 139, 143. Right, reduction in acceleration, let's see, are 1,000 above the ground each. Engine out acceleration, we'll make that 1,500, so that's 5,800-ish. Alright, no need to pre-select any speed. Then a quick check, we've got 183 miles versus 208 miles, so we're actually saving a bit. But I think Simbrief wants us to fly onto the other runway, so yeah, Jacksonville 19 versus 01, that's fine. Okay, looking good to me. And let's accept that load sheet, and with that our setup is pretty much complete. The wind data is here, extra fuel, 41 minutes. Perfect. We're actually carrying quite a bit of extra today. Well, that's fine. Okay. Perfect, so initial climb, let's see if we can find anything anywhere over here. Top altitude, flat level 230. Man, I like that. Here we go, flat level 230.
Once again, welcome aboard Delta's flight. Please place all of your bags in the overhead bin or underneath the seat in front of you. The aisle must be completely clear for taxi out and takeoff.
Okay, so that's looking all pretty good. Then let's go ahead and start our departure briefing, please. Alrighty, so, Salt Lake, runway 34 right, and we're going via the Rocks 3 departure. Climbing flight level 230, MSA-wise 12,000 keeps us safe, and extra fuel is for 41 minutes. Perfect, I don't see any hotspots for our taxi out. Stop margin for redirected takeoff will be several thousand feet. Engine out sits straight out to 25 miles. Picking up the hold over there, and last but not least, if we need to come back, Salt Lake is our best option in the area, so 16 left, basically straight out, make a procedure turn, come back in, and that's it. We are below the maximum landing weight, so no problems returning immediately. I don't see any special or non-standard operations here. Do you have anything? No, perfect. So threats for the departure are definitely going to be the mountains in the area. If we have a look at the chart, we are departing over here to the north, towards Bobby, which we gotta cross above 11,000, so that may be, yeah, some 12 miles out. Well, let's see what the FMS is gonna calculate here. So Bobby in 14,000, so no problem at all. Okay, perfect. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Do you have any other threats? No? Wonderful. And the MSA is 13,000, by the way, not 12,000. Well, how are we going to mitigate against that? I will be using the train display, but we also have very good visibility outside today. At least, if there aren't any terminals in front of us. Here you can see it. Very good visibility outside. So we are probably not going to face any issues there. Any questions, comments or concerns? No? Beautiful. Then let's see what the status of the boarding currently is. Loading the last pieces of luggage, it seems. Let's have a look. Yeah. Probably the last luggage cart there. That's all you can ask for. Okay. Wonderful. So, that good stuff is done. Then let's go for the pre-flight checklist, please. Well, I flew too many Boeings over the last couple of days. Cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantities. 10,460 pounds and balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs. nav and barrel rev QNH 3014. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. So let's see. Yeah, that's the old load sheet. We don't need that one. Let's just go ahead and request the latest weather here. SLC. Here we go. So, weather is unchanged of 1554. Yeah, so new weather is probably going to become available before we depart, but I think we can probably stick with this. Okay. Excellent. So, then we're just waiting for the load sheet. Let's use the time and say hello to our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome aboard this Delta Airlines flight 2269 towards Jackson Hole. My name is Emmanuel, I'm your captain today, and we are going to depart as soon as we've loaded the latest luggage, which we are doing right now. We are going to cruise at an altitude of 31,000 feet today at a flight time of about 35 minutes. Would like to thank you very much for being our guests. Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight with us, and if there is anything we can do for you to make it more comfortable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Thank you very much for your attention, and again, welcome aboard. Alright, looking good. So, everything should be done. You guys can start taking off the external power already.
Once again, welcome aboard Delta's flight. Please place all of your bags in the overhead bin or underneath the seat in front of you.
Brake is set, then we've just gotta wait a moment here. Okay, they've closed the entry door. And the cargo doors as well now. Wonderful. Waiting for the final load sheet then.
We'd be happy to have you reseated. Thank you, and welcome aboard.
But that seems to be still some in progress there. Ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed, Captain. Okay, roger. So we are just waiting for the load sheet and the final figures, and then we are ready to go. Okay, yeah, give us a moment, please. We're working on it. Thanks. So what's the status down here? They have already removed the equipment. This is exactly like in the real world, by the way. Normally, you're sitting here, you're done with everything, and then you're just waiting for the ground crew to get you the load sheet. Well, we can use the meantime to get something into the right-hand EFB over here. Because I do kind of like to have something up. Well, like that, maybe. Just to have the route on here, something the likes. I do kind of like that normally. Okay, so still waiting for the load sheet. Which makes me wonder if I've busted the sequence by commanding them to remove the ground power, aka turning the beacon on for a short moment here. before everything might have been done. Let's have a quick look into GSX. Boarding passengers now. Yeah, I doubt it. Reset. So we have busted the sequence. Okay. GSX. Such a wonderful add-on this is. But it does say aircraft loaded. Let's see about it. Okay, there is the load sheet. Now let's see if it's accurate. In compliance with edition number 2, they say. Okay. Well, wonderful. In that case, all we gotta do is order GSX to appear again. So that they... Okay, here they come. Perfect. Well then, so the load sheet is here. In compliance with edition number 2, that was the one we previously accepted. Delta 2269 on the 30th. From Salt Lake to Jackson Hole, November 319 November Bravo. Which happens to be our aircraft. 2 pilots, 3 cabin crew, 0 fuel weight, 117.3. And the CG is 29.1. Alright, takeoff weight 127.4, which checks. 119 guests on board, that means we can use the pack flow in low. And then takeoff CG 28.0, which is somewhere over here, so we're looking at an up trim of about 0.7. Alright, so quick check 28 and 127.4. If we punch that into our takeoffs, yeah, that is looking good. Then we can keep those numbers. Very nice. Okay, perfect. That is all you can ask for. Ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So, the load sheet has arrived, the final figures are in, and we're ready to go at your command, sir. Roger up, stand by. Before start checklist. Park and brake. Set. Takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 139, VR 139, V2 143, flex 60. Windows. Closed. Bacon. Tasty. Before start checklist complete. So, ground flight. Go ahead. Okay, clear to push. Runway 34 right. Park brake set. Let's see, that's gonna be tail right. Think so. Always strange when they do this tail to the whatever. I only saw that in use at one airport so far, I believe. Everyone else uses facing whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter. So, ground flight. We're clear to push. Park and brake released. And runway 34 right. Roger, start on the push. Stand by for engine start. Alright, so once we're clear of the road, we are going to commence our engine starts. And the sequence will be 2, then 1. Starting engine 2. Clear 2. Engine 2 start. I just love how easy the Airbus SOP is. So off block at 49. I think that is a tiny bit of delay.
Once the video has concluded, we'll be in the aisle to answer any questions you have before we're seated for taxi.
40, yeah, a couple minutes. Not too bad.
Along with Charles in the economy cabin. We do welcome you aboard.
Okay, pushback is completed. Set your park and brake. Flight brake sets, and we've got a good start in 2, starting 1. Engine 1 start. Interesting that we still get the indication on the N2 number over here, even though the engine start has concluded. That shouldn't happen. This should have gone. Here we go, back to standard. Yeah, strange. Let's see if the same is also gonna happen on engine number 1.
If you lose an electronic device in your seat, please do not adjust your seat and ask your crew member for help. As you leave the gate, fasten your seatbelt by instantly.
So the start valve has gone off. The veil is on. Yeah, that box should have gone off. Alright, ground. We've got 2 good starts here. Clear disconnect. Show me the sign in front or on the right, please, as you desire. And I see you next time.
Better regulations require all passengers to comply with all crew members' instructions, along with the posted placards and lighted information signs throughout the cabin.
Smoking, vaping, the use of e-cigarettes or any smokeless product with chewing tobacco is not allowed on any Delta flight. Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying.
Alright, so we've got the tuck, we've also seen the tow bar in front, and down here is the ramp agent, and he is holding a pin in his hands. After start checklist. Anti-ice, off, ecam status, checked, pitch trim, 28%, radar trim, neutral, after start checklist, complete. Clear right side, clear left side, let's go.
Pressure changes. Oxygen masks will drop from panels above your seat and inside the lavatories. Reach up and pull the mask or streamer down to start the flow of oxygen. Remove any face covering and place the mask over your nose and mouth. Slip the elastic strap over your head.
So let's align with the taxiway center line before we do the brake check.
And note that oxygen is flowing. So don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Okay, brake check. Pressure 0. Okay, so we'll taxi clear at the apron. Once we're clear, we can do the flight control check and everything, so no need to expedite things today. On the apron, maximum speed 15 knots, which is more or less what we have right now. Okay, for our Salt Lake City scenery, we are using the scenery from Paxim, which is, in my opinion, really, really awesome. Paxim in general is a very good developer. Their soul is also wonderful. I like them. Okay, so we are gonna take the second to the right onto hotel, please. And that's clear left side, clear right side.
As we finish our safety check, please let us know if you have any questions.
As we get ready for takeoff, please settle in. And from all of our crew, thank you for flying with Double.
So, flight control track. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left.
Folks from the cockpit,
Full right. Neutral.
Number 1 for takeoff. Flight attendants, please prepare for departure.
And the rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Hello, Emmanuel here.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Thank you. Alright, no changes to the takeoff briefing. Everything remained as briefed. Terrain on my side, as mentioned. And that's it. Taxi checklist, please. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conv 1+F, radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine start selector, norm and ECA memo, takeoff, no blue. Taxi checklist completed. Alright, so that is a lot of maneuvering area there. I'm not gonna slow my aircraft down for that. We'll maintain the 20 knots and just take the turn a tad earlier to make it a little bit smoother. Looks like a couple of clouds are moving in though, lying onto the tops of the mountains over there, so that is something that we will take into consideration. So the windsock is pretty much calm, if at all, a couple of knots directly crossed. Nothing to worry about. Okay. Cabin crew, prepare for departure, please. Lineup checklist. Takeoff runway. So that is 34 right, November 1, TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist completed. Are you ready to go? Yes, sir.
Approaching 3-4 right.
That's correct. So, VRAS is in operation. Remember, it is work in progress, the voices aren't final yet, so if they do sound a little bit out of the ordinary for now, then that is known and work in progress. Alright, are you ready?
On runway 3-4 right.
That is confirmed. Take off. Mount flag 60, SS runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots. Checked. V1 rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. Alright, very good visibility over there. Terrain is in sight, so nothing to worry about for our departure. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Climb. So, pack one on. Flying over the Salt Lake is so incredibly beautiful in the real world. The simulator just can't do it justice. Especially when you're landing into the southerly direction here, that is an incredible view. Flaps 0. Speed check. Flaps 0. So we've got a cross Bobby at or above 11,000. That shouldn't be much of a problem here. Even with the acceleration still going on. That's very good. Really impressive to see the mountain ranges over there on the sides. In the real world, this is really an incredible approach and departure. Okay, so enough manual flying over here. Autopilot 1. speed 250. I just want to get above the MSA before accelerating. Because if we do that, it means we can accept directs. And then I'd say we just go direct to halter. Interesting cabin altitude behavior here. We are gonna ignore that for the time being. So terrain is inside, we are well clear. The right hand turn is not a problem. And once we're above 13,000 we will be above the MSA anyway and don't have to worry then. We'll keep the lights till 18,000 and we'll keep the seatbelts until we have accelerated, because we shouldn't release the seatbelts as long as the pitch is above 7.5. So 13,000, managed speed. Going up to flight level 310, let's put that in. And that looks like we're almost going ballistic over here. But I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. Okay, so then let's go ahead and take a moment. The lights remain on, seatbelts can go off. Well, we can do clear and copy, please. And we are well clear of the terrain below. Let's go back to the weather radar. Not that we'd really need it. We could stay on terrain as well. But well, as mentioned, we are well clear of anything here. So, nothing on the radios. Secondary flight plan, copy active, and on the progress page, cruise in 310, optimum 380, maximum 390. So, Jacksonville 01 going in here, and that's it. Okay, perfect. So, as you say. Well, I suppose we don't need to listen to those announcements in flight, right? Up here we know what's going on anyway. So, set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 181 now. Checked. Lights off, and that's it. So, up and on the way, 70 miles to our top of descent, so we can start our preparation already. For our route, we don't have any stars over in Jackson Hole, so the arrival is fairly easy. We're just going to proceed direct towards Humber, and from there we are going to start our descent in accordance with the arrival. Now, let's first of all go ahead and request the latest weather information, please. Let's see if there is any kind of ATIS available. Probably not. Yeah. Actually, definitely not. I know that there is no VATSIM ATC online right now, so let's just go with the METAR. And here it is. So what do we have? 210 at 4, 10 miles, view 1100, overcast 4900, 0 degrees, 3008.
Altimeter setting.
So that's RAS warning us over here that we're above the transition level and not on standard. Let's try that one more time. Alright, I suppose RAS needs a little bit of a little bit longer time there in between, so that's fine. Alright, so the runway would actually be for runway 19, the weather, but I tell you what, with a little bit of tailwind, saving, you know, that much arrival time, let's go ahead and do the mathematics and see if we can do that, because I don't want to fly 10 minutes longer if we can avoid it. So Jackson runway 6, and we are gonna apply the latest weather over here. Let's see. Someone showed me a very nice trick here for how to figure out the landing weight. You go to the secondary flight plan, copy active, in it, next page, and then it should not go to the fuel prediction, but should actually show you the landing weight over here. Looks like Fenix doesn't simulate this. Okay. Too bad. That's a nice trick in the real world. Bus, secondary flight plan, in it, next page, and then over here it tells you the landing weight. Alright, EFOP 7.2 versus 8.6, so we're gonna use 1400, which makes a landing weight of 124. Let's do 127. Sorry, 125, just to be on the safe side. That's not gonna work. That is gonna work. I do believe the Americans usually leave auto thrust on, so here we go. Config full, auto brake medium, should work just fine with that little bit of tailwind. So I'm happy with that. So let's stay on runway 01 over here. Makes our lives easier. Okay, so with that good stuff out of the way, let's start our setup and checking our flight plan. So what's gonna be important over here is, I told you in the intro to this video that we are doing hot and high operations, and especially the hot is important here. You've got to understand, we've got 0 degrees outside, which may seem cold, but remember that in order to compute performance in aviation, we always need to compare the temperatures we have to the ICAO standard atmosphere. Now, let's calculate what the ICAO standard atmospheric value would be up in Jackson Hole. So, the airport is located at 6,500 feet, as you can see up here on the elevation. So 6,500. Now, by default, the temperature reduces 2 degrees Celsius per 1,000 feet in the climb. So we can make 2 times 6.5, that is 13 degrees. Now, the standard temperature at this altitude, or at this airport, would therefore be 15 at sea level, minus 13, so 2 degrees. So 2 degrees Celsius is the ICAO standard temperature for this airport. Now we actually have 0 degrees outside, that means it's 2 degrees colder than ISA. But, if you think about it this way, 2 degrees colder than ISA means that our performance is by far not going to be as good as you would expect it to be if you think about an aerodrome at sea level with these temperatures. And if you do the same calculation and now transition this one to summertime, where you might have 20 degrees outside, then you can quickly see how 20 degrees is not just 5 degrees warmer than ISA, but actually 18 degrees warmer. So, you get the idea over here. Right, Mach al cruise. Now that we've thought about this, we've got to think about, can we fly this approach? And most RNAV approaches will have some sort of information like this over here. So, barometric VNAV, not authorized. Cold temperature altitude correction required at or below minus 22 Celsius. And that's the important thing here. So, we can fly the approach until we've got an outside temperature of minus 22 degrees or below. If the temperature goes here, or goes below 22, then we need to do a cold temperature correction, and that would involve not being able to use final approach mode, but rather having to use the conventional NAV FPA technique. I'll have a dedicated video as winter is coming up on that stuff, don't worry about it. Alright, so what can we do today? Our aircraft is FLS equipped, that means we can use the LPV minima. And we've got a note over here. If the missed approach climb gradient is at least 385 feet per nautical mile to 7,700 feet, then we can use 6,651 feet as a minimum. It is today, so that's what we are gonna do. Alright, so with that we have decided on the basic framework of our approach. Now let's go ahead and check our arrival to make sure that everything is in agreement with our charts and the FMS. So we're starting at Hombar above 11,700. And we've got that over here. Then Valku above 11,000, DSEV 10,400. Then we go on via Tsugen 9,500, and that's the final approach fix. And then later on we have Kofki 8,180, which we do have in here as well. So we've got a 3-degree glide path down here, and we have a 3-degree glide path down here on the chart, which is just about perfect. And for the missed approach, climb to 14,000, direct to Quert, and on track 088 to Delta November Whiskey VOR, that's Dunois, and hold, continue climb and hold to 14,000. So we've got Quert, Delta November Whiskey, 14,000, perfect. Right, for our setup, I'll take Delta November Whiskey over here and Jackson over here. So runway 01 is in here already. For our setup, 282 knots on the descent is looking good. QNH 30.08. Temperature is 0 and the wind 240. I think it was 210, wasn't it? Let's just review this. Yeah, 210 at 4. Here we go. Transition level, we'll keep the automated one in there. And for our minimums, we said we have 6651. Okay, in case of missed approach, the acceleration is gonna be, well, MSA 14.9, but we are flying with just a missed approach altitude of 14,000, so I am going to use 14,000 in here for the acceleration. So 22 minutes of extra time, that looks about right, and then we can copy the active to the standby, auto brake medium, config full, and that's it. Right, do you have anything to add on that preparation? No? Beautiful. If you do, be sure to put it in the comments below the video. Alright, so, are you ready for the briefing then? Well, before we start that, let's just about go ahead and initialize our descent over here. Down to 20,000 at first, please. Speed descent, alt, blue, FAP, and flight level 200 blue. Okay, so, for the briefing, it's your turn, please. Okay, thank you very much. So, we do not have any published star over here. The MSA is 14,000 feet, and the approach is gonna be the RNAV X-ray approach, runway 01. Approach minimum 6651, and the go-around trajectory is straight ahead for about 15 miles, then a right-hand turn to the Dunois VOR, climbing 14,000. Extra fuel, 22 minutes. Alright. I agree on all of that. We will fly the approach with flight director guidance and auto thrust, landing config full, stop margin, well, not all that much, if we recall this, so stop margin is in the region of about 400 feet, so really not all that much. We will use maximum reverse, auto brakes medium, in order to save a little bit of brake energy over here. Exit the runway at the end, and then via the parallel we are going to go to the apron. I don't have anything special or non-standard, do you? No? Beautiful. Okay, threats for the arrival. So the main threat I see is the terrain in the area. So if we have a look at our approach chart one more time, we are pretty much coming in over high terrain everywhere. Now, weather isn't of importance for today's approach, so I will be using the train on ND function. Apart from that, the only other threat I have is that due to the high elevation of the airfield, we are going to be quite a bit faster than usual, and the airplane will be harder to decelerate, especially since we also have a tiny bit of tailwind here. So how are we going to mitigate against these threats? Basically, I will be configuring the aircraft for landing quite a bit earlier than we usually would, so that we can really slow it down. Especially remember it's an A319, which is already a bit harder to slow down than usual, and the tailwind is not going to make that stuff easier. Last but not least, even though once we are in landing configuration, we are still going to be faster over the ground than usual. So remember, we need to flare, you know, that tiny bit earlier, since the airplane has a little bit more inertia up here and therefore will be a little bit harder to slow down. But that's really it. You see anything else? Nope? Wonderful. Then I'm off ATC for a moment and I will do the passenger announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, from flight deck, once again your captain speaking. We started our descent towards Jackson Hole with a remaining flight time of about 15 minutes. The weather at the moment is a little bit cloudy at a temperature of around 0 Celsius. Would like to thank you very much for choosing Delta today. Hope you've enjoyed your flight as much as we did. We look forward to welcoming you again. In the meantime, we wish you nice and safe onward travels. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope to see you all again soon. Alright, we didn't put the TCAS into below earlier, but it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like there's a lot of traffic around here anyway. Okay, good. So, cloudy as per the forecast. But those should be high-level clouds, so I'm not too worried at all. Maybe we can lose a couple of words about using the runway advisory and awareness system here as we're coming into Jackson Hole. So, if we have a look at our landing performance, then we can see that we really don't have a lot of space left at the end of the runway. This means we really got to ensure that we touch down right within the touchdown zone and not far beyond that. Now, RAS really provides a safety enhancement for this. First of all, it would give us a lot of warnings during the approach already. Think about messages like too high, too fast, long landing, and the likes of that. Now, the second point that is going to play a role over here is going to be our landing roll itself. So, unlike some more modern aircraft, the A319 and the A320 family, the CEOs, are not generally fitted with a runway overrun warning system, like modern aircraft such as the A330neo or the 737 MAX are fitted with. This means that we have to rely on the automatic callouts of the RAS system for the runway length remaining and then make our decisions appropriately. Airlines are going to define certain barriers normally, which may look something along the lines of your distance to the end of the runway is, for example, 3,000 feet, and your ground speed has to be, let's say, for example, 60 knots or less. And if you find yourself in such a situation, you get that call out and you're not at 60 knots or less, the airline forces you to apply maximum reverse, maximum braking until stopping on the runway is assured. Now, since every pilot wants to avoid getting into that situation of having to do that, you know, people will probably be a little bit more cautious. Alright, so let's descend further down. Be sure that we stay in VNAV over here. So we can descend with the arrival down to the FAF, I believe at 8,500. Here we go. Set QNH. QNH 3008, cross-check passing 17,400 now. Checked. So, lights on, signs on. So, we have about 38 miles to go. We're now 10,000 above the ground, 5 knots tailwind, speed 280. Looks okay to me. The only thing I'm not too sure of is the speed reduction point over here at Homva. I tell you what, let's activate the approach phase. Well, how far do we have? 36 miles, okay. Let's wait a tiny bit. But the decel point over here at Homva looks quite good, so we are going to stick with that. Also, we do have final approach showing over here, or FAP. So we are going to be... it will be possible to fly the approach using the FLS. Okay. We do also have GPS primary, high accuracy, estimated 0.03, very good. And let's do RMP 0.3 down here. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. Approach checklist, please. Barrel reference, QNH 3008. Seatbelts on, minimum, Barrel 6651, auto brake, medium, engine start selector, norm, approach checklist complete. So remember, we are approaching an airport located at an elevation of 6,500 feet. That means we are going to do everything adjusted off that altitude. Right, entering some clouds here, temperature -1, engine anti-ice on. Engine anti-ice is on. Let's see if we ice up worse enough that we have to use the wing anti-ice. Temperatures around about 0. Within clouds are the ideal conditions you have for ice to form on your aircraft. That's really the most ideal conditions you can get for icing. Okay, so clear for the approach. That's fake glide slope blue and fake lock star, fake lock. Right, thrust idle open descent. And if we're in open, we should adjust that FCU altitude. So Homba is assured at 11.7, then I'm gonna set Valku 11,000 over here until we capture the glide. Speed is coming back nicely, just gotta be sure that we have our first flaps out before we reach the glide slope. So for that, always a good idea to remind yourself. Landing gear extension, maximum 280, but landing gear operation, maximum 250. And company message, yeah. We'll call them on the ground for the delay codes. I can't be bothered with delay codes when we're actually on approach. So, looks like the glide slope is approaching. The speed is pretty slow to slow down, so tell you what, let's get the speed brake out. So here's exactly the problem I talked about. We're doing 240 indicated, 19 miles from the runway, but our ground speed is still 280. So we really got to get the aircraft slow. Okay, the glide is approaching now. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Let's just get rid of that company message. Memo down there. Yeah, we've read you. You can get your 8 minutes after landing. Okay, fake glide slope. Go around altitude 4,000 sat, or 14,000. And here's what I meant. Now that we're on the glide, 200 indicated, but 240 ground speed. And the plane just doesn't want to slow down anymore. And that's just 15 miles out. Alright, get down. If you wait too long with the gear, you just don't have any options anymore. But looking at this, with the gear down, the speed is coming back nicely. Alright, speed brakes can go back in, flaps 2. Speed checked, flaps 2. So, 12.5 miles out, ground speed 210. Runway inside at the 12 o'clock. This is looking spectacular, isn't it? I really love those mountainous approaches. Yeah, German first officer, I know. Alright, the speed is slowly coming back, but you can really see why we had to take the gear that early. 10 miles out now, ground speed just about 190. Even though our indicator is down at 160, so that's exactly the issue I talked about. Alright, I don't think we'll need the anti-ice anymore. Engine anti-ice off. Okay, ice detected. Well, engine anti-ice on. Hello, Emmanuel here.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Well, let's get that down. Okay, flaps 3. Speed checked. Flaps 3. And flaps full. Speed checked. Flaps full. Well, we're just gonna leave the engine anti-ice on then. Big check down here, that's looking good. Okay. Just gotta love those conditions here, right down the valley. Okay, so now look at that. 130 knots indicated, but 150 knots over the ground. And that's exactly the problem you have on these approaches. I'd rather waste a little bit of fuel getting the gear down early and now fly with some thrust on, than to do the opposite and just don't get the airplane slow anymore. Alright, so, looking good, let's have some fun. And I'll just dim the display a tiny bit over here. That's better. Okay, so we are exactly on the Papi. Now that is something that during hot or cold weather operation you got to be careful with when flying approaches like this. If you're coming in cold weather operations, you're probably going to be below the Papi. The reason for that is due to the cold air being less dense than warmer air. The actual true altitude of the aircraft is going to be lower than the indicated altitude. The Papi, however, is not going to correct for the effect on the air density, but the Papi much rather simply shows you a geometrical path. Now, what does this mean? Well, it basically tells you that the Papi is always referenced to true altitude. Here we can see it. Okay, 01 intentionally. Now here we can see it. We are roundabout on the path, but the Papi shows us low. So what are we gonna do? Well, flight director's off. Bird on. We'll manually stay right on the Papis.
500.
If you're an AFGIC, it must be awesome to live somewhere over here.
100 above.
Checked.
minimum.
Continue. So look at that, ground speed still 145.
40, 30, 20, retard. Drive.
Okay, spoiler, reverse green, decel.
3,000 remaining.
70 knots.
2,000 remaining.
Manual brakes. That is looking good. Alright, welcome Jackson Hole. So that's the 1,000 foot marker along the runway. Yep, that's probably true. Okay, I am going to start the APU straight away over here so that we can do single engine taxi when the time has come. Even though I'm not 100% sure if we actually want to do single engine taxi at this high elevation here. Well, we'll see how the aircraft is going to perform on 2 engines, but then we can still make a decision. Okay, after landing checklist. Radar and predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. No, look at that. We barely gain any speed here, even though both engines are running. We are not gonna do single engine taxi today. Alrighty, so anything else we can do up here? Not really, huh? APU veil, wonderful. Okay, so quick check on the charts, which gate we're parking at. I think it's somewhere down here, P8 or P7 or so. Okay, quick word on the scenery itself. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful sceneries available in Microsoft Flight Simulator at all. I would really like to say thank you for receiving the review copy of Jacksonville. Now, why do I like this airport so much? The surroundings are just beautiful to fly into, but I do think they just kind of captured that feeling of the airport, and they just really captured how the taxiways lie in the grass, if you know what I mean. You've got very plausible edges over here, and well, last but not least, wait until we are parking at the gate, and you will just get to see how the terminal looks, and how, you know, the entire apron just has character to it, if you ask me. So beautifully situated, beautifully done. My full recommendation over here. So let's find stamp number 7. That's 8 over here. So 7 is probably next. Lights off. And the radar is off as well. Here we go. Okay, it's an A319, it taxis like one. And here we So, APU bleed on, shutdown 1, shutdown 2, cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, looking good. Engines running down. Even though I do believe the relationship between N1 and N2 is probably a little off over here. As you can see, we still have very high N1 with a very low N2. Okay. Parking checklist. Park and brake our trucks. Brake set. Engines off. Wing light off. Fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. So, thank you very much everyone for flying along. I do hope that you have enjoyed the flight. Now, as mentioned, you can find the link for Jackson Hole in the video description below, and I do hope that I will eventually see you fly somewhere over here in the closer future. Again, in my opinion, really recommendable airport here, and if we just take a very quick look around, you can see exactly why I like it so much. Beautiful terminal interiors as well. That's just one of those things that I really like so much about these smaller airports here. Alright, so, thank you very much for watching. As always, I do hope that you have enjoyed this one. Be sure to leave your like, comment and subscribe in the video description below, and I'm very much looking forward to see you all again in the next one. In the meantime, if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and see you all again on the next one.